Gentlelady's time's expired. Who else seeks recognition? Gentlelady from Texas is recognized for 5 minutes.
I'd like to first associate the gentle ladies, my remarks with the gentle ladies' remarks, because some things just should not be debatable. And one of the things that we know is that the Constitution is really supposed to be a guiding light. And the reason that we're having to do amendments like this one and the other one and talk about things such as due process and the Constitution is because we could actually avoid maybe detaining or sending away U.S. citizens if we just gave them their due process rights. Because I'm tired of hearing, oh, they made a mistake. Well, guess what? That mistake may cost somebody their job. That mistake may cost somebody their home. That mistake may cost somebody actually being able to still have their child, because authorities may be called because that person is now not showing up to pick up their child. Or some people don't have the privilege of having a salary job where whether they show up or not, they're still going to get paid. Some people need to be at work. And so if you care about U.S. citizens, we know how y'all feel about immigrants, but if you care about U.S. citizens, I don't understand why this would be debatable, because if there's anybody that we're fighting for, all supposed to be fighting for, it should be U.S. citizens. In fact, it's U.S. citizens that are the ones that send us here, not Donald Trump. So with that, we should be looking out. We should have their back, and we should say, as the federal government, we will not do things that are directly going to disenfranchise our citizens. And that's exactly what this is. But if we just followed the Constitution and gave people their due process rights, then maybe they could show up and prevent some of these mistakes. And maybe these mistakes that maybe seem so small to y'all because maybe the people that are being targeted have a little bit more melanin. So maybe we don't care about the mistakes that happen with some of those folk. I don't really understand. But I'm tired. And frankly, I think y'all should be tired too. Because I think no matter what district you come from, if you were to survey your district, there is no one in your district that would say that we should spend money on ICE, immigration and customs enforcement, to detain or deport, which you can't even deport, detain and kidnap, or detain and whatever, unlawfully restrain a U.S. citizen. Not anyone in your district would actually support that. I would put money on it. And so this absolutely should be a no-brainer. And I thank you to the gentlelady from the state of Washington for proposing just common sense, which seems like it is not so common nowadays. I will yield.
So that was Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett on the House Judiciary Committee, and she's expressing her concerns about why they even have to vote on certain things. The current topic she's talking about is the ability to deport U.S. citizens. All right. And she broke it down in another video that we're going to go to now.
Hey y'all, so I'm jumping on really quickly. First of all, it's too cold in this building. So yes, excuse me. I know I look tacky, but this is my jacket because I'm about to head out for a second to do votes. But I wanted to make sure that I told y'all what just happened. So I've been in oversight forever today, but now we are in our markup and it is in judiciary. And let me tell y'all what they just voted for. I want y'all to take a guess. Okay. Y'all probably not gonna guess it because it don't make sense. But if you think of the most ridiculous thing that they could do, okay, I know that that's really hard too because everything that they do is quite ridiculous. But literally, they just voted. They being the other ones, not us, because we were all on the right side of history. They just voted to give Trump the ability, legally, to give him the ability to deport U.S. citizens. That is what they voted for. A bunch of elected U.S. representatives. That is how they voted. Am I telling a lie, Eric, or no?
No, I got my salad here. Mouthful. No, I'm stunned.
So when she's saying U.S. citizens, that, means U.S. citizens, people born here, that have been here, that, they are trying to give Trump the ability to deport them. And we all know that there's a difference between a U.S. citizen and an immigrant. Oftentimes, people are quick to say people need to get from over here. They need to go back where they came from. But some people have been here in the U.S. for a while and are actually citizens. Oftentimes, people wrongfully group U.S. citizens with the average immigrant. And that is why it's so shocking to the Democrats. Of course, they're talking about the Republicans. They ready to ship whoever off. But, it's shocking to them that U.S. citizens are even considered to be deported. And of course, let's hear from the professionals.
I'm not, but I'm glad that you. Oh, okay, Eric been here longer than me, but like.
So what we said was, we even said, you know what? Many of us will not offer any more amendments tonight. We won't vote for the overall bill, but if you agree to this, we'll drop any other amendments. We'll take the win that this would be in the bill, that you would agree U.S. citizens can't be deported. They voted to allow Donald Trump to deport U.S. citizens. And they did it during the week that we learned that a 4-year-old little girl fighting cancer, a U.S. citizen, has been deported, separated from her U.S. citizen father and her cancer treatment. So, yeah.
This is why it's such a big concern. Like when they do deport people, families are split up and broken up. And imagine if someone was a U.S. citizen, someone that was rightfully supposed to be here, and they break their family up. Just because, maybe they look like they could be an alien. Let's keep going.
That's kind of shocking.
He's shocked. Y'all, listen now. I came in with nothing but fools. So he been here longer, so maybe he still has a little bit of shock in his life, but I don't personally. Because the fact is, we used to live in a world in which where we saw the news about that baby that got deported, the baby with cancer, because supposedly he the man that's all about the children with cancer,
Trump
right?
children.
Like, that's why he made sure one of his guests was at the State of the Union was a child with cancer. So surely, even though they're cutting cancer funding, but like, it is a U.S. citizen. Like, there honestly isn't even this real thing of like deporting a U.S. citizen. As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country? Like, that is absolutely insane. So yes, all I gotta say is y'all need to get these fools out of here. But Deborah is so much nicer about how she says things. She wasn't them real. She's one of them real good, nice lawyers. Okay, listen, I can only imagine how Deborah was in the courtroom, honey. But Deborah also sits on judiciary. So tell us, what are your thoughts? How do you explain that this is what they decided to do?
They're mean, they're heartless, and they're cruel. And they do not care about anybody except themselves. But if you're going to be able to deport U.S. citizens, then they're coming for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So again, like all those people that are saying that they have some sort of buyer's remorse about their votes because they never thought that this was going to impact them and that kind of stuff or whatever. Here's the reality. When we go out and make votes, instead of going out and deciding that you're going to vote for the person that is going to be quote unquote perfect, what you need to be doing is looking for somebody that at least has some common decency. Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, I can tell you, if it was somebody else that was in office other than him as the president of the United States, maybe we would have had a different result. But they are so afraid. They are afraid to do what is right. Again, I keep trying to tell people, this isn't about partisanship. This is about right versus wrong. Now listen, y'all know this fighter. She stays on the front lines at all times. But no, tell us, because actually this was your amendment.
It was my amendment.
So this is the author of the amendment. And we all thought it was common sense, but as we are learning, common sense ain't so common.
Yeah. No, look, here's the thing. This amendment was not introduced because it's theoretical. No. It is actually happening. Yeah. That U.S. citizens are being deported, not just one, not just two, multiple U.S. citizens are being detained and deported by ICE. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I introduced into the record the document, the policy document the law that ICE cannot detain and deport U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
That's actually the law.
Yeah.
So it's illegal what they're doing.
Yeah.
And Ted Lieu, our colleague, said, it's batshit crazy that you got to introduce this amendment. He said that on the record. And I said, you know what? It is batshit crazy. But the reason I have to do this
It's because they don't follow the
is
law.
because they're not following the law. And
Right.
then I asked the Republicans on the other side, you were elected by U.S. citizens, by
Right.
constituents.
Right.
And you are now saying, if you vote no on this amendment, you are saying that you're not going to stand up for the constituents, the
That
U.S.
elected.
citizens
That you work for.
that you work for,
That you work
sent
for.
you here.
Right.
And it was just
The
stunning. to
ones
me.
that pay your check.
Now,
Right.
I did notice that some of them
I don't work for
just
US
didn't
citizens. I just got here by
come to the vote because they didn't want to be
Oh, yeah.
on the
some
record. They didn't want to vote.
Some of them skipped out on the vote,
They
y'all.
skipped out on the vote. So you should check the record. And if you have a Republican that represents you wherever you are, you should call them up and say, do you support Trump's ability to use ICE illegally to detain and deport U.S. citizens? Because if you don't, you should be speaking out right now. And if you do, we are in a whole hell of a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm already at the point that we are in a whole hell of a lot of trouble, to be perfectly honest. And the other thing that Pramila is too nice to say is when you looked across that aisle, for those that sit on judiciary that decided to take this vote, the reason that they can sit there and take this vote and not even blink is because so many of them sit in privilege. When I look across that aisle, I don't know. I think we have one person that may have a little bit of melanin. For the most part, they don't. And so what we know is that there's so much racial profiling that is taking place. There are certain people that maybe because they have an accent, you want to just say, oh, well, that can't be a U.S. citizen. That is not true. There are certain people, because of the complexion that they have, that is who is being targeted. So you know what? They are not concerned because they know the quote unquote types of U.S. citizens that are going to be directly impacted by this. Now, I got this legend, and I don't know if you want to say anything. He over here trying to eat. But what you got to say for the people, Mr. Nadler? Okay, yeah, he eating. He say no.
I'm ready.
Okay. New York in the building.
We in New York understand, most of us, constitutional law. We understand constitutional rights, and that's why we only have 5 Republicans.
New York, that's 5 too many, y'all. It's 5 too many, New York.
A few of whom will probably defeat, maybe all of them next year.
And to our fearless leader. I feel like I've been with him my whole congressional career. That's because I have, actually. What do you have to say?
Well, first of all, hello to all the friends of Jasmine Crockett out there. She's doing a fantastic job for everybody. Look, the first 2 votes have got to be read together. The first one, we said, okay, nobody should be deported from the country without due process. They refused.
Where is due process found?
Due process is found in the 5th Amendment of the Constitution.
Constitution, y'all.
And what does due process mean? It means like before they deprive you of your life, your liberty, or your property, you get to hear what the charges are against you.
Yes.
You get to put on your evidence, as
Yes.
Jasmine Crockett has done as a lawyer and as a member of Congress. And there's got to be some structure to it, so it's fair, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be a neutral fact finder, right? Who decides? All right, that's all we're saying.
And hopefully prevents these mistakes.
So before you get sent out of the country,
Right.
there's got to be due process. There's got to be a
Right.
fair hearing,
Right.
And our colleagues refused to vote for that,
Yes.
despite the fact that the Supreme Court just said in a 9-0 decision that there's got to
Right.
be. And that includes everybody on that Supreme Court. That's pretty incredible that all 9 of them would actually say, yeah, we agree. There's got to be
Right.
due process.
And the last time I checked, the Constitution, that's supposed to be the highest law that we have in the land.
Supreme
that's what I
law,
thought.
Supreme law of the
That's what I
land.
thought.
Not Donald
It's
Trump. Right?
constitutional
So the-
professor, y'all.
So the first one says, okay, we said you can't deport people without due process. The Republicans said no. The second one, Ms. Jaibal's amendment, she said, well, you can't deport or detain U.S. citizens if you're ICE, right? That's
Right.
not your job.
Right.
I thought that was a slam dunk. Okay, they're not going to vote
Right.
against. They voted against that. They voted it down. You put those 2 together, and they seem to be indifferent if ICE is actually detaining and deporting U.S. citizens. And guess what? That's not hypothetical. That happened last week, where there were U.S. citizen kids who were sent outside of the country. So we're entering a brave new world here with all of their Orwellian, Kafkaesque stuff. And we're just getting started, though, because we're going to now pin them down on everything. We're going to have amendments on everything to see where they really stand on the Constitution.
Yeah. So you just heard it directly from Jamie Raskin. He is trying to teach these people some constitutional law, y'all. They ain't trying to listen. They act like it's only one amendment in the Constitution, the second, and they read that one wrong. Listen, if you care about this country, if you care about the Constitution, if you care about anything, then you will go and tell somebody what we have just educated you on. I got Becca Ballant. Listen, I'm trying to let her finish. But here's the deal. It is so frustrating because we could see the writing on the walls as we went out and we tried to educate people about what it was that they were up to. If they have it their way, this country would only be full of Elon Musk and Trump and they other billionaire friends and whoever is willing to work for them for little to nothing and have no health care and not be able to really afford food and not be able to afford a roof over their head, because we are working on reconciliation, meaning we are working on the budget. And so what we were saying in these amendments was you can't fund this type of activity. That's all we were saying, because it's already illegal. So you wouldn't need to keep doing like the same law over and over. But we're like, okay, maybe we just need to take your coins away. And then maybe y'all will stop, because maybe you'll be like, well, I'm not going to get no money for doing this. So this is actually about the coins. Okay. So I want to clarify, because I know some of y'all may be confused. Like, well, if it's already the law, why y'all talking about it? Okay. It is the money side of it. I just want to make sure I'm making that clear.
Always follow the money.
Follow the money.
Always follow the money.
This is the amazing Becca Ballant.
You're too kind.
From the great state of Vermont. What do you think about what's happening so far? We got a long night ahead of us, y'all.
They are willing to throw over all of our rights. They are willing to throw over the freedom and the liberty of their own people in order to worship at the feet of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. They don't care about their constituents. They don't care about working people. It is about delivering more cash to people at the top. You follow the money and where it goes, and it's about kicking working people in the teeth, propping up people who don't need the advantages they already have, and meanwhile, creating a police state. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
With what we just saw in committee right there. They will not promise not to spend money to detain and deport American citizens.
Yeah.
This couldn't be more clear.
This is all about doing whatever it is, allowing Donald Trump the latitude to do the things that he wants to do. This is my second markup for the day. My first was in oversight, and when I was there, I mean, the things that they were trying to do, they're trying to bust up unions. They are over there saying things like, you know what, we don't want federal workers to have the protections that they would normally have in being a federal worker. We need to make them all at will so that we can fire them whenever we want to. So essentially admitting that they know that what they did when they started firing everybody, they knew it was illegal. So now they are trying to change federal worker status so that they can do this stuff lawfully. Like, I'm telling y'all, this is absolutely insane. It is bad, bad, bad. But make sure that you don't just get on IG, listen to me. Make sure that you go and you educate somebody else, because we are in this position because of a lack of education, because we allowed ourselves to be played, or we allowed ourselves to be riled up about things that, frankly, we ain't never had no president that was trying to decide what kids can play on the playground. The president is supposed to do things like make sure that those kids can have food in their mouths, roofs over their heads, and food in their mouths. I think I may have already said that. Anyway, if that buzzing you hear means I gotta go vote. But I just wanted to check in with y'all. I appreciate y'all. We gonna keep fighting. The blue team got your back.
All right, I love how Jasmine Crockett and her team went through and broke down what was going on. I gotta say, I really like the style of how Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is putting her team on. You know, she is part of a team, so yeah, you might see her and she might catch your eye, but you know, it's a whole team behind her and she's part of a team. And I just love how she's putting her teammates on. And you guys can hear a lot of the things that they were saying. They're breaking down what's going on, and I can really appreciate that. Let me know what you guys think about the whole deportation thing. I personally don't think the president should be able to deport U.S. citizens. You know, if you are a citizen, just because you might speak a different language, and of course we have all been there. We've been there. You hear someone start to speak a different language. A lot of times people automatically say, oh, ICE gonna get them. And it might be a U.S. citizen. So it's kind of a culture thing, and I think the people that are behind Donald Trump are the people that are quick to say, oh, yeah, they don't supposed to be over here. You got to watch how you talk like that because, again, we have some U.S. citizens that, you know, are bilingual. We have U.S. citizens that do just as much as U.S. citizens for our economy, for our infrastructure. I don't have a problem with people that, you know, even immigrants. I know, let me know what you think about immigrants too. I know most of y'all said they need to go. They're taking the jobs. But man, sometimes people come over and they really have a different work ethic. A lot of times people like to paint them as criminals and things like that. I haven't met too many, you know, criminal immigrants. I have seen some immigrants that if they were here illegally or not, I don't know. But like if you in like construction and things like that, they're the people that, you know, are eager to come to work, eager to, you know, go throw your roof up and eager to just build things like that. And they outwork everybody. They outwork everybody. I've been a supervisor, and not saying they were immigrants. Some of them might have been U.S. citizens, but I've seen people come from Puerto Rico, people that come from a lot of different cultures and backgrounds, and their work ethic, man, they could work with me any day. But I just say that to say, you know, you can't judge a book by its cover, and just because someone is different, you don't know if they are U.S. citizens, and the president shouldn't be able to just say, hey, you need to go back where you came from without even, you know, going through the process to see due process. You kicking them out before you even checking. That's to me, that's wrong. But be sure to let me know what you guys think. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.